Hey, what's up? I'm Mike Rosica. I wanted to chat real quick about how we're going to be releasing this podcast. And since both Drew Paul Bell and myself have pretty active YouTube channels, what we've decided to do is to split it up. So, on the Young Architect YouTube channel, I'm going to post all of the episodes that are even numbered. So, episode 0, episode 2, 4. I'm going to post all the even numbered episodes. And Drew Paul Bell's going to take all the odd numbered episodes and post them on his channel. And so, to make it easy so you're not bouncing back and forth all these different episodes, I would first say both subscribe to both the Young Architect and the Drew Paul Bell YouTube channels. But what both of us are going to do is we've created a playlist on each of our YouTube channels called the Mike and Drew Architecture Podcast. And in that playlist, it's got all the episodes listed. And even though Drew Paul Bell, posted episode 3 on his channel, I can still add that to the playlist and have it sequential. And to make it even easier, I've created two links. I have youngarchitect.com/Mike, which will take you to the playlist on Young Architect channel, and youngarchitect.com/Drew, which will take you to the same playlist on Drew's channel. In some ways, it doesn't even matter whose playlist you're watching because they're the same exact videos. And so that's how we're going to do it is, Young Architect will post the even, Drew's got the odd numbers. And then in a couple of weeks down the road, after we get this playlist, this podcast kind of rolling out a little bit faster, we're going to strip the audio. We're just going to take the audio from all these and we're going to actually put it out as a podcast, the same way we publish the Young Architect podcast. We'll post it on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify. We'll get it out there. But for now, we're just releasing these on YouTube. So that's how we're doing it. And I hope you enjoy the new show. Take care, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm Mike Rosica, and I got my buddy, Mr. Drew Paul Bell. What's up, Drew?
What up, man? Doing well. How about you?
Really good. I'm excited to chat with you tonight, Drew. I love these weekly Tuesday night Taco Tuesday chats with Drew Paul Bell.
It's been going good. Same here.
I had tacos earlier. Did you?
I did not. I had some chicken.
Oh, there you go.
I'm failing on the taco thing. I don't even have tequila because I'm out. I'm slacking today.
Yeah. I feel like, we do this Taco Tuesday every week. And I don't know, it's just become like tradition now. We just have tacos every Tuesday night, me and my girlfriend. And then I go and I talk to Drew. And Drew, you never see me eating tacos. I never see you eating tacos, but it happens. So
I got a bad habit of eating Chipotle any chance I get. So then I've eaten Chipotle in the afternoon and I don't really feel like eating tacos at night.
Oh, so you already had your Taco Tuesday earlier today?
Yeah.
There's worse bad habits, Drew, than Chipotle.
I don't consider Chipotle a bad habit at all.
Okay, good. So what's going on, man? How you been since last week? What are you working on?
Been okay. Working on we got a building permit that has kind of been dragged out for like a year, and we're still trying to get the building permit. And so we're like inches away from the goal line, sort of, and we're trying to get like the last little bit through. So talking to the plan reviewer, talking to the owners. We've already brought the GC on board. I think they signed the contract and they're getting pricing from people. We got to like send out updates and all kinds of stuff. CA already.
The building departments, has really slowed down because of the COVID, right, in New York?
Yeah, but that's not really the issue with ours. I mean, because it's actually in upstate.
Oh.
And it's been cool because it sounds like there's like they have like the main head reviewer, the head building official, and then he's got a couple people working for him, at least 2, and we're working with one of them. And so she is like by the letter of the law, and he's the boss, and he's interested in getting shit done. He understands like this is like his city. He's got to get these businesses up and running. Our client in particular, it runs a medical office building. So it's not exactly a hospital, but they got like dentist offices, and they're kind of associated, like dentist offices and similar types of, we're avoiding the word outpatient facility because that requires more parking spaces, but it's similar to outpatient doctor's offices. He's sympathetic to what happened with us and the clients and everything, and he wants to move everything along. And so he's been super helpful. But then, the other plan reviewer, while she's been super courteous, she's also been very by the books.
Yeah.
And we've been running into some headaches. I think that another issue was that the client was trying to do this on the cheap. And so I think that there were some shortcuts taken in the drawings. Some stuff like GC to provide foundation footing detailed drawings. And
good luck with
you
that.
can't just say, oh yeah, GC to figure it out.
Yeah.
And then there's also like other code compliance stuff that wasn't identified early on. And it was a little bit putting the cart before the horse. They started applying for zoning before applying for the building permit because they wanted to get, it seemed premature to me. They wanted to get approval from the zoning, but then there was also an issue about how this was renovating the entrance because it wasn't ADA compliant. And here's the other reason why the building official is sympathetic to us. Some lawyers chased ambulances all over this town and sued everyone for not being ADA compliant.
Yeah.
They weren't even like, the building official said to me over the phone, he said, I don't know why the DA let this go through. And I don't understand the structure of DAs or whoever, but he said that like the Department of Education got sued, the building department itself got sued, the plan reviewer himself got sued. So they went around suing everybody. And so this is what spurred on the whole thing in the first place. And then when we renovate the entrance, there's like a roundabout drop-off area. And the site plan from like 1984 had handicap accessible parking spaces in the roundabout area. Now, granted, they're not actually handicap accessible. They're just marked HC, like they're marked for employee of the month. They're not, it's not anything special. Neither were, I don't think, any of the handicap parking spaces. And apparently there was some kind of modification along the way on that too. Because then the plan reviewer, who was reviewing for the site stuff, first of all, they tried saying, well, parking lot's not in our scope of work. So not in contract. You can't just like delete 6 parking spaces. And, like, and some of it I think is coming too from the fact that like, our office is in the city. We do corporate interiors. And, the other people working on the project, half of them drive. And it's like, I heard a funny joke one time. It was actually about like where you fight wars. But the example he used was, he was like, they always say that, nobody wants, it's a good thing we're not fighting wars on American soil. It's happening over there. He's like, trust me, nobody wants to fight wars on American soil, least of which everyone else. Because you will not take, his joke was, you will not take so much as an American's parking space without them stabbing you in the throat. And there is so much truth to that. Like, people are very particular about their parking spaces, man. And I think that it was kind of an underestimation about what was going to have to go into getting these drawings done. And I was kind of brought on board halfway through to sort of usher this through the building department. And it feels like an uphill battle. It seems like every time every time we get something back, it's a whole new round of comments. And like we found, all right, but here's the interesting thing. Okay. We finally talking to like the head reviewer. He explains to us that there's something in the code that allows the plan reviewer to allow a variation of 5% of a measured distance or something like that, measured quantity, measured of a measurement. It can be varied not greater than 5% or something like that. And when I had read that, I thought, well, shit, we're doing with parking spaces. Like, that's not going to work. And but he was like, I'm willing to interpret that as including parking spaces. So if you can show me the site plan where you don't lose any more than 5%, because we were already non-conforming, because the 1984 standards required less parking spaces or something. So of course we couldn't just add 6 parking spaces, and it was really like adding 10, because you're adding handicap parking spaces plus the accessible aisle, and so then that eliminates another spot. So even with the most efficient plan we could come up with, we would have been losing like 10 parking spaces. But we were able. All right, so he let us do that. He let us say, all right, we'll let you reduce it by 5%, because otherwise they were going to make us go post up a sign on the site. We were going to have to go get reviewed by zoning, and so, or planning planning. We were going to have to get reviewed by the planning department, which means you were going to have to put up a sign on the site saying that we were going to change the parking lot.
Oh God.
And we were going to restripe everything.
Not in my backyard.
Compact spaces. And we had to post a sign up on the site for a month and then allow the neighbors to come up and voice their opinions. And I've been to enough of those to know that is a total waste of time. Like and he even told me, he was like, you're an architect, you can design something and we'll approve it in 5 minutes, but it's going to take you 2 months to get there. And you don't need to do all that. We're going to get this thing moving, get working. And so thankfully he made that kind of allowance for us. I had no idea it was there. I mean, I had seen it, but I had completely read it differently.
Yeah.
The line, the code. And it just goes out. I mean, I think it's worth bringing up because, like, you never know. There's people out here in the world of architecture who are like, you know, it's like the plan reviewer who's actually looking at the drawings is probably not the boss. They're probably working for someone else. And the person who actually has the authority isn't the one looking at the projects. But if you can get in contact with them, then maybe they're willing to help you out in some way, you know? And, you know, I've also always kind of had a theory that, like, you know, sometimes I think that I've always had a great relationship with principals at the firms I've worked at. The principals they're knowledgeable, they're experienced, they've been doing it for a long time, and most importantly, they're secure in their position in the firm. But where it's been a lot more dicey for me has been working with kind of middle managers, because I find that the middle managers got a little bit of an ego, they're getting power over somebody for the first time, they don't have a ton of experience being a leader, and they're a little worried about where they stand in the hierarchy of the firm. They want to look good, they want to move up, and they don't want someone taking over their spot. And it's sometimes you find that, like, they're not really filling you in on everything. You were like, oh, well, I see this problem, here's my solution. And then they're like, well, did you check this other thing? Because we had a conversation the other day with the owner about X, Y, and Z. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I wasn't in on the conversation the other day with X, Y, and Z. So thank you for filling me in and letting me know. Like, now we have to come up with some new solution. So similarly, I think the same thing can happen with at the building department, you know, because it's somebody who's working for the government and they've been told to follow the rules. And so they're trying to follow these rules to the letter. Yeah. And they're approaching it like somebody who's got to enforce the rules, not like somebody who's got to solve a problem, which is, hey, we're gonna make the entrance to this building accessible. They just view it as like, we got to stop them from doing anything wrong, rather than, hey, these people are making an improvement. How do we help them out? Yeah.
Sounds like a fantastic learning experience, Drew. You know, a silver lining of it, all this drama with all this code stuff, you know, it kind of gets back to my theory that dealing with problems and bullshit and stressful situations on projects, and when things go wrong or when someone screws up, like, it just makes you better. So we can learn from these mistakes. It doesn't happen again, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Codes is such a tricky subject too. It's something I was never good at. With interpreting the code, talking to the plan officials, trying to get, you know, all the permits, but we have another permit about this thing. That have you considered this permit or this and that? And this is like probably the worst. You know, one of the things I used to do all the time was I tried to over communicate with the plan reviewers and go in almost every time there was a major kind of, I guess, threshold. Every time we moved into a new phase, make sure that I'm on the right track and I'm not missing anything. Just because I was always so bad at, you know, trying to cover my butt with all these things, I was so terrified of surprises when I get to the end of the project.
Yeah.
Drew, one of the things I've learned, and this is for me when I was working on projects in the offices, when I would get thrown into a project, in the middle or in the closer towards the end, or if I wasn't a part of it, like, it took me such a long time to get my head into the project, to figure out where things were going, to like take over as a project manager. It was like one of my biggest handicaps is taking over. It took me so long to just get up to speed with the history of the project and all the moving parts and all the things happening. It really made things harder for me. And I felt like it was just something I learned about myself. And a big portion of the beginning of, you know, working in firms, especially when I was a lot younger, I was constantly thrown into the middle, and, you know, just throw in Mike Rosica. He's cheap and he can help out. He's great on the CAD stuff, and he'll go in there. But it always took me forever to get up to speed with figuring out what was happening.
Yeah, dude, that's so hard. That's one of the things I struggle with a lot.
Yeah.
because, you know, I feel like when I've been on the project from the beginning, I'm good to make decisions about stuff. I feel pretty competent when it comes to most of the issues. And like with the one I just described, right? Like, because I was the one dealing with the parking stuff, I understood the parking issues really well.
Mm-hmm.
But there were other issues about the project, like the storefront, that now I got to review the shop drawings, and I'm like, whoa, hold on now. Let me I got to go back and like really dive in and figure out what
Yeah.
happened. And even then, there was decisions about what color it was going to be, and I still got to go check with somebody because it's like, hey, I saw some of the emails flying through, but didn't really land. And like,
Yeah.
can you still check this real quick before we send out an approval or revise and resubmit?
Yeah. It's hard learning the history of what happened before if you weren't a part of it and lived through it. So.
And you know, there's reasons people got, you know, like you're gonna have the one client who, like, you understand, hey, this client is gonna want the cheaper option, and then you have other clients who are like, they care about your design input and they want kind of what looks the best, you know, or maybe they had an opinion about how they hate navy blue, and so if you're gonna propose some navy blue carpet tiles or whatever it is that you're doing, like, you kind of have to know about that stuff.
Yeah.
And
Totally.
it's almost impossible to go catch up on some of those things because you don't even know to ask. You have no idea, like, because you weren't in the meeting where they talked about the look and feel. You just got brought on board for DDs or CDs, and there's all kinds of dynamics. You have no idea there, and there's no way to even find it out really without just going at it, and then having the project manager being like, "Oh, they said they don't like that already," and then you're like, "Okay, cool."
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like I've spent so much time reading other people's emails, trying to learn the history of what was happening, getting up to speed, and like, it's so inefficient, you know, trying to figure all this stuff out. But yeah, we learn from it though. One of the things I actually talked about it recently in a video. I talked about this with one of my NCARB videos. I said, one of the things I started doing this with NCARB and I kept doing it. And the lesson I learned from NCARB, I started doing every time I talk to a building permitting agency, is keeping a record of every person I talked to. I would write down the date and time, the name of the person, and what we discussed. And I would keep it like in the back of my sketchbook. And every time I was going back and forth to the building codes place, making sure got all everything taken care of and I'm on the right track. And then someone would say something differently, and I would have that record. I'd be like, no, I talked to so-and-so on this day, and they said that we can put the whatever in this location. And just having records of conversations with code officials has been huge.
Yeah. You got to stay on the ball with that.
Yeah.
We had a bit with this project before we finally got the break on the parking lot. All right. She tells us, oh, the parking count is X. I think it was 194. And then later on, she comes telling us that the parking count, we designed it for 194 parking spaces. And we added in one or two here and there, send it back. And then she's like, the required parking count is 220. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? I mean, we obviously didn't say that, but we had to call her up and we were all like, what the hell happened? She sent us the approved parking plan. She told us the email. It was 194. What do you mean? What happened? And then she's like, oh, well, that was an older site plan. That was my mistake. I'm sorry. The required count is 220. I'm like, you gotta be kidding. There was even though she had said it before, there was still no holding her to it. So even when you prepare, they still screw you over sometimes.
Yeah. It just seems like such an inefficient way to work, the back and forth that happens with the permitting agency. I don't know what the solution is. It just feels inefficient.
Yeah, man. What happened
standing in
was,
line,
like,
waiting.
Yeah. The most recent thing with us been about some details. And funny enough, like in the last day or two, I was able to, I hand sketched some details. I actually got them right here. We got like footing details with installation and stuff, and like I literally had to like email these to her and be like, hey, does this meet the requirement as you interpret it? And One of them, there was something wrong with it. She's like, yeah, the first two are right, but the third one's got to go to the top of the slab, even though it's existing and you're going out to the left 24 inches. It still got to go to the top of the slab, but with the insulation. And, I was able to do those sketches and send it to her. But the reason why is because of COVID, because they were working from home for so long. The agreement with the head plan reviewer was, listen, we're going to have some time before we're back in the office. They are actually back in the office now. But he said, we're going to get all the changes hammered out digitally. We will review it without you having to resubmit a physical copy. Once we get everything done, then you got to resubmit the physical copy for our records and all that. So they're letting us do the changes digitally, quick reviews, sending it back, which has been nice.
Yeah, that helps.
But yeah, usually super inefficient.
Well, good luck with all that stuff, man. You think it'll be done by next week?
Appreciate it. I got to modify some drawings tonight and get. I think we're gonna have our part done. We still gotta. We sent out. We needed a structural engineer for something, foundations, and so it's just for a concrete ramp, but we don't have any comparable details in the office to refer to because we're mostly an interiors firm.
Yeah.
And so I got to update some dimensions and send it off, but really we got to move something out by 3 inches to account for the insulation. It's totally doable. I just got to coordinate changes through the drawings.
Cool. Good stuff. How's New York doing? You guys opening back up?
Yeah, New York is going pretty good. So we just entered into phase 2, and we are actually I'm actually back in the office this week.
Oh, that's good.
But the way my firm is doing it is we split people up into 2 groups. So we got group 1 and group 2, and I'm in the group going into the office on Mondays and Wednesdays. The other group is going in Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then we're all working from home on Fridays.
Oh, there you go.
So I went in yesterday, and luckily I live close enough to the office. I actually didn't ride the subway. I rode a city bike, and I walked home. It's about a 45-minute walk. And I think, judging by how few people were out at lunch, I think I could take the subway and it wouldn't be crowded at all. But my Metro card, I didn't renew it because of everything going on. So so I just rode the city bike. But it was, I gotta say, man, I was actually glad to be back in the office. Yeah. I was a little bit nervous about going in because I kind of felt I got the stuff I'm dealing with right now, but aside from that, work's a little thin. So I'd rather be at home if work's a little thin than sitting at the office. But I found that yesterday when I got back into the office, it was so much easier for me to focus.
Yeah.
I've gotten accustomed to working from home and I can do it. And there's nice things about it, but I'm the type of person where I'd rather be around other people. I'd rather be out, and I'd rather be out and zoned into the work than at home doing the work. I can do it if I have to, but for me, it's preferable to be at the office.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a change of scenery too, man. I mean, you've been in your little New York City apartment for months.
Yeah, man. I was working today and I had a hard time focusing this afternoon. I literally had to get up and go for a walk for a while to kind of clear my mind. That's the reason why I still got work to do tonight, because I got to put in the hours. I got to get the job done. But, I just got to the point where I wasn't being productive.
Yeah. And
I had to be smart about it. Whereas if I was up in the office, I think I would have had a much easier job, much easier time focusing.
What's cool. It's good. I'm glad things are getting back to normal slowly. But
yeah, man. I've heard a little bit about the changes going on down in Florida.
It's a fucking mess.
What's going on down there?
Yeah, I don't know. They opened up too quick, and they just kind of opened up, and the restaurants they shut down. They kept the gyms closed, and the restaurants were only allowed to operate at 50% capacity. But and there was really no mask rules in place. And what ended up happening, I was looking at all the data today, when the pandemic was at its worst, we were getting a little under 1,000 cases a day, new cases a day. Now we are getting, in Florida, we're getting a little under 4,000 cases a day. So we've almost, triple, quadrupled where we were at. And so, I don't know, it's just getting really scary. They made a mask rule. Yeah, we are at the point, and I was comparing where we're at today. Remember when Cuomo was on TV freaking out yelling about, ventilators and we're shutting down New York City? Like, that's where Florida is right now, with the amount of new cases rolling in. So I don't know.
Mhm.
Everywhere else in the country, it looks like it's doing really good, but there's a couple of states like Florida and Texas. Florida didn't get hit that hard, while New York got slammed. We were pretty good for most of it, but I think
Mhm.
I think people just got too loosey goosey with the social distancing. So
I didn't realize that Florida wasn't telling people to wear masks.
yeah, no, they just kind of opened up. It was the grocery store. It was recommended. I wear it every time I go to the grocery store, but there's people are still going to the beach and bars and restaurants, not wearing masks and stuff. And I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, I guess I've been in New York for so long. I kind of holed up here in this apartment, and I don't know when it was. It must have been like 2 months ago that they passed the law where like you had to wear masks going out, and you had to wear
Yeah.
masks
Yeah.
in grocery stores. At some point, I remember one day, like a Saturday morning, I was laying in bed and I could hear a cop outside over the speakerphone telling people that they had to have masks on. And like they weren't. I mean, we've had riots in the street recently, and so like they weren't really talking much about masks around that time. I don't know that they really well enforced it out and about, but there were still a lot of people out there wearing masks.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you never know who's had it already. Like my superintendent had it. I don't expect him to be wearing a mask. It's not comfortable, but
Yeah.
and I know he doesn't, but you don't know about everybody. And yeah, man, I guess I saw Dr. Fauci today,
He was in
testifying to someone. I don't know if it was Congress or
How'd that go?
some.
I saw it, but I wasn't paying attention.
I saw a bit of it. It looked. I mean, honestly, it seems like they're saying the same stuff. They're kind of like people are like, "This is terrible. What are you guys doing to fix it?" And then they're like, "Well, we have these weekly meetings, and we've been talking about what we're gonna do to fix it." Same thing as we've always had to say. I saw some clip that I think I had missed. I didn't see live, but somebody challenged him on it. They were like, "Do you regret advising against wearing masks?" And Fauci's response is going viral or whatever. He's like, "Oh, so we're gonna go down this road, huh?" And then he goes in and he explains that like from the very beginning they were like they weren't going to recommend masks because like they needed the PPE for the frontline workers at the hospitals, which he's always been consistent on that. Like some people, there was an article like just like the other day saying like Fauci reverses role on masks, endorses masks. Why didn't they do it earlier? They lied to protect it for the healthcare workers. But like he had always said that. That was always like if you were actually listening or you'll remember this, what he had always said. And it does seem weird why they didn't recommend to wear masks earlier. Like I feel like the federal government could have said, "Hey, we are purchasing all of them. It's illegal to sell these or what." There must have been some kind of instrument in place to prevent random people from going out and buying the official masks. But they should have said, "Hey, listen, everybody has to wear masks, and you should take a shirt and wrap it around your face." Like there would be such an easy. It's so easy because I was
Use a
listening
bandana.
like the Americans are resourceful enough that they can figure out how to get some piece of cloth around their face that allows them to breathe, but prevents like germs from getting out more effectively. And there's a guy named Nassim Taleb who wrote a book called The Black Swan. Mm-hmm. It's not the movie with Natalie Portman in it. It's about economic risks. This dude was like a stock options trader for a long time, and then kind of left that world because he feels like they're not grounded in reality very well. But he talks about risk and stuff like that. And so he was talking about one of the things with the Black Swan is it's like the event that happens, like the once in a lifetime event that happens that changes everything, and that nobody expected. And what his thing about the risk thing is that you don't look at what's the percentage that you're right. You're saying, "Oh, well, masks help or they don't help." The question isn't what are the chances, what are the odds that you're right? The question you should ask is, what's the consequence if we're wrong? And the consequence if you're wrong for wearing a mask is, oh, you wore a mask. Like there's a no cost. It's you got to wash an extra white t-shirt. You got to wash 2 or 3 extra white t-shirts this week. Is nothing. But the potential upside is maybe a bunch of people don't die with coronavirus. And instead, for them to be like, oh, well, we recommend not wearing masks. Like, I don't think that was the right way to say it. I think that they should say, we recommend that everybody wear masks. Now, to be fair, I don't think you can say, oh, well, we recommend masks. But by the way, guys, be cool and don't go buy up all the masks because the doctors need them. People who are trying to protect their family, they're going to go buy up the masks.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. There's got to be some type of mechanism in place where the federal government could have stepped in, reserved the masks that they needed, and then quickly said, hey, listen, everybody, like, wear shirts around your face.
Yeah, totally. I don't get these people that are so anti-mask, and I think I wouldn't say there's a lot of them, but there are people here in Florida who they ain't put no mask on, and I just don't get it. It's so stupid. And someone there's a lot of pushback, and I think part of the problem here in Florida was we didn't have a mask rule when they first opened everything up, so everyone got loosey goosey. Party's back on. And now we got to start wearing masks again because the cases just keep skyrocketing. So I forget where I saw it, but someone was comparing it to back in the 70s and 80s when they started putting seatbelts in cars. People were all pissed off. I ain't wearing no stupid seatbelt. And I don't know, just here we are today. I can't imagine driving a car not wearing a seatbelt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's like, what's the cost? The cost of wearing a seatbelt is nothing. You're still sitting there riding the car. It doesn't make you go slower. I don't get it. Now, I think it's dumb to not wear the mask, but I also think, but I'll tell you another thing that's annoying is the people who virtue signal about wearing the mask. Like the people who like get up in other people's faces. I saw some dude walking down the street. Some woman was running down the street she ran past me on the sidewalk, and some other dude gets up in her face like, mask, please. And I'm like, what? Bro, you look so pathetic right now. Like this woman running by is like bothering you so much. You got to make a scene, act like a child, and pretend like you're better than her. For all you know, she had it already. Like you don't know someone's story, you don't know someone's situation. Yeah. And I hate just like the virtue signaling around it and then people acting like they're superior. Yeah. And I think that what those people are probably doing is they're probably just nervous. Like they don't know. And I get that. But some of the public freakouts I've seen online about like standing in line at Target and somebody was like 1 foot off the 6 foot, like they had a dots every 6 feet. And I saw a video of someone freaking out that some dude was like, you're in my bubble. You're in my 6 feet bubble. And that's overkill, crazy. Man. Y'all need to chill with all that. You don't need to be acting like that.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Oh, man. I can't wait to put all this pandemic stuff behind us. I don't know how long it's going to be, but I'm looking forward to talking about it as a memory of 2020.
Yeah. And people keep talking about it like there's no going back to normal. It's going to be a new normal. Like, okay, cool, that's fine. But I feel like whenever we're talking, like, I love the way you put it, like, put it behind us. I don't, like, we're not still worried about the Spanish flu that happened 100 years ago. Yeah. I feel like some of these people, especially the politicians, are kind of like, well, maybe it's here to stay. And I don't know, man. I guess we don't have like a vaccine for any other of the coronaviruses, like the common colds. But to act like we're never going to not have to worry about this seems kind of like fear mongering.
Yeah, a little bit.
In a little way.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. There's also as much as 2020 has sucked for pretty much everyone, there's been a lot of good that's come out of it. And I think it's, just trying to work and adapt and work with the tools we have. So.
Yeah, dude, in some respects, I was coming back from the office yesterday, walking around at lunchtime and kind of seeing a bunch of people out on the street. Not a bunch, but like more than I'm used to seeing in my apartment. And, it's like, there's something, I think I've grown a little bit more calm over the last few months in a way. Like I'm still a little nervous about stuff like the economy and the whole world is going to collapse. But like I feel like I can walk through the streets with a little bit more ease right now. It's kind of like, hey, look, there's people, and you're not too worried about, what do those people think of me?
Yeah.
And I guess that dial's been dialed down on me slowly but surely over the last who knows how many years, but I think even more so over the last few months of kind of helps you get recentered about what's actually important. And also, hey, you've handled whatever's been happening the last 3 months, you can probably handle whatever comes at you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In some ways, for me personally, it was the pandemic couldn't have come at a better time with all the traveling and living in a van for 2 years and driving around America and just constantly being on the go. I went to California. I came back. I said, I need a freaking break. I got to stop traveling so much. I need to chill. And the pandemic happened. And it was a much needed, and in some ways I needed to kind of hunker away and just work from my little apartment and get stuff done. I feel like I've gotten so much stuff done that would have never happened if we weren't in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
So. Yeah,
man, I got to put in some work too, like on my little portfolio review business as well. And like I was able to sit up in here and shoot YouTube videos on my lunch break. And I made some good progress. And, I probably could have been moving faster. I was stressed out about stuff or whatever. And like, you got work looming over your head at all times. You never know when they're going to email you with something to do. But yeah, I was able to put in a little bit of work too on stuff. So I like to think I made the most of it. And I think that this, with anything, it's like, there's a quote by Robert Greene, and he said that successful people don't make right decisions, they make their decisions right. So it's like, okay, you had this time. Like, are you going to have used the time to work on the side business? Are you going to use it to work on kind of your own sanity?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to use it, say, hey, look, and it was, while not a great vacation, could view it as a vacation in a little way, in a way, kind of a break from the ordinary for a bit. So it's like, how are you going to choose to look at it at the end of the day? What story are you going to tell yourself about it?
Yeah, totally. So I don't know. As much as it sucks, it was actually much needed, and I feel like I benefited from it in a weird way. I feel like if we don't adapt, it's either adapt and evolve or freaking die. If we're not growing, we're dying.
Exactly.
So we just got to work with the tools we have, figure it out. So.
That's one of the other ideas from this guy, Nassim Taleb. I'm reading the next book right now to The Black Swan, and it's called Anti-Fragile. And it's a fascinating concept. He said, all right, so you know what fragile is? Fragile is something that chaos and violence destroy it. Like the china in the kitchen cabinet or the fragile furniture or whatever. Then you ask, okay, well, what's the opposite of that? And a lot of people think of the word robust, meaning it can handle volatility. But he says there's not truly an opposite. A true opposite is volatility makes it stronger. If you look back to like Greek mythology or whatever, the Hydra was that dragon thing with I don't know how many heads at first, but whenever you cut one off, it'd grow more. That's an animal that's anti-fragile, right? It's a concept of anti-fragile. The more volatility, the stronger it gets. Mm-hmm. Your muscle fibers are this way. When you break them down, they grow back stronger. The body overcompensates, basically. Nature basically overcompensates. So you can go to the gym and lift some resistance, and then your body's going to prepare to lift even more than whether you actually gave it, And that's anti-fragile. He was talking about how do you apply this concept to all these different types of areas. I'm still only like in part 1 of the book, but he talked about different professions. He talked about artists. Artists are anti-fragile. Mm-hmm. The politician is very fragile. Or imagine something came out. There's a great story about a guy named Matty Mo. And this guy was like some tech company founder back in 2009 or something like that, when Facebook and everything was taken off. He was in one of those graduating classes from Stanford that basically produced all the founders of Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and all that. He ran around the tech investing world for a little while. He was pitching he was his VC thing. He made some type of plugin that eventually got purchased by Facebook. He was trying to sell it, and then some video leaked of him like throwing up naked on a beach somewhere in India or the Pacific Ocean. And then it's like, oh, this guy got canceled in a sense before cancel culture was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
To that kind of corporate environment, he didn't look that he couldn't sell his business anymore after that. And like the value plummeted. And I think he eventually sold it. I don't know the deal. Point is though, he came to the realization, he's like, if I'm Matty Monahan, the tech investor, I'm held to a certain standard.
Yeah.
But if I'm an artist, if my brand is the artist and there's video of me throwing up naked on the beach, they would welcome me in with a group hug. They would think that's so cool. Like the value of my paintings would go up if I do crazy shit like that.
Yeah.
Not the value of my business going down. So Nassim Taleb talks about the idea too of like how artists are a more anti-fragile profession in terms of public opinion, right? In court of public opinion. Meanwhile, you got people who wear suits and CEOs and they do something kind of fucked up. It's like, whoa, what are you doing? You're not allowed to do that. Their opinion mattered more.
Remember when Roseanne sent out all those racist tweets? Oh my, and they just shut her down, man. I watched actually a video on Vice YouTube channel where they were hanging out with Roseanne, a year or two after that situation happened. And it was a really depressing video of, this woman had such a great career, everything was on the up and up, and a couple of racist tweets really just, immediately shut everything down for her. And whatever. And then they kept making the show too. I think they just cut her out of it.
It's her name on the show though. And that's weird.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Yeah. And I also heard that there's something about sleeping pills too. And you almost can't get the whole story out, because when somebody starts talking about it, other people show up immediately being like, shut up, you think you can talk? You have no right to talk. Yeah. And yeah, man, the whole stuff gets dicey.
Yeah. What's that book called you said you're reading?
It's called Anti-Fragile.
Let me check it out. I always like the books man. Drew recommends me.
It's deep and it's long. I'm listening to the audiobook, and it's like I got 14 and a half hours remaining.
Was it Audible?
Yeah. And so I think he's written 3 or 4 books of note. There might be some other ones, but there's 3 or 4 that I know about. And the first 3 were conceived as like a trilogy. And the first one was called Fooled by Randomness. And I haven't read it, but it seems like the basic idea is that people think they see patterns in everything, but they really don't know. And then the second one is called The Black Swan. And a black swan event is the kind of thing that like nobody could have planned for. A black swan, and if you're talking about risk and you're talking about financial risk or whatever, somebody, risk analysis people are going to look back at the history and be like, okay, well, this is the biggest risk event. This is the biggest unemployment number we've ever seen. So we prepare for that. That's worst case scenario. But they leave out the fact that when that happened, they had never seen anything that bad before. So you act like you know, but you really don't know. And that's the main point of his books, is that you don't know anything. So Fooled by Randomness is like, you think you see all these patterns, but they're not really there. Black Swan is that there are all these events that happen that you had no idea were coming. Mm-hmm. And some people are talking about the coronavirus stuff now. He says that's not really a Black Swan event because we knew it was coming. They weren't prepared, and the politicians are trying to act like no one could expect this. But the reality of it is that there have been coronaviruses that come out of China in the past, out of these wet markets or whatever. And 1,000%, there were 1,000%. There were people who Bill Gates had the TED Talk, so it was not unpredictable. It was predictable. They just weren't prepared. And then and then the third book is about Anti-Fragile, and this is kind of like the antidote. This is pitched as the antidote to the Black Swan, because these once in a life, these random events, they could be good, they could be bad. It's hard to tell. You never really know.
Yeah.
But the idea of being anti-fragile is that it doesn't matter. Volatility makes you stronger if you can build your business around that way. And I'm still only at the beginning of the book, so I don't know the whole story, but it's fascinating though.
Yeah, I'll check it out.
So Mike, what are you working on?
Oh man, I don't know. A lot of things. I would say right now we're a little bit we're about a month away from the summer series at this point, and I'm trying to write a keynote speech. That's one of the things I worked on this week. Is I'm gonna do a whole like probably 25, 30 minutes keynote around the topic of community, which is a topic that I think gets thrown around a lot, but people don't really understand.
Oh yeah.
You know, and you know, I've for the past week I've spent a lot of time thinking about this. You know, what is a community? What makes a community? And I've looked at, you know, one of the things I'm going to talk about is I think sometimes the very best communities are the organic communities that kind of almost grassroots kind of create themselves. They're not planned, they're not forced, and like things like the people I work out with every morning. You know, seeing them and working out, like in a weird way, we have a community because we all show up at the same time and we all have a shared vision of, you know, staying in shape, or, you know, like even my yoga friends, like how that's a community. And then I've also like spent a lot of time thinking about like what a bad community is. A lot of times, like when it's forced or there's a lot of rules, or, you know, forcing the community to happen and saying we got a community when it's really a bunch of people that all hate each other.
Yeah, man.
So I don't
That's
know. So,
cool.
yeah, it's been fun. I'm having a great time kind of thinking about all this stuff. And it also, like, I've been thinking about this stuff for years. It was, I think it was like in 2015, I attended a seminar around this topic, around community, from this woman named Pamela Slim. She did this tour around the United States talking about community. And I just haphazardly showed up for it. And in some ways it changed how I looked at kind of this idea and what the young architect brand and what the boot camp is, and, you know, the Facebook group and all of the things. It really kind of changed my vision of what a community is and the value of it. And so
Yeah, that's
yeah.
awesome, man. Because, you know, I never really thought about calling it a community, but that's exactly what it is, though. And I've been in so many little groups, little clubs in school, or groups or whatever, where inevitably there was always the awkward meeting where it was like, guys, like, we didn't have anybody show up at the last thing.
Yeah.
So like, this is really important. Please really show up. And we got to get like more attendance. We got to do better, blah, blah, blah. I know that like it's X, Y, and Z, but like, please do this thing. And like, they're begging people to show up. And like, that doesn't work.
It's not.
And like you're trying to get people to show up to the volunteering event or to pay their dues or whatever. And yeah, it's funny, man, because it seems like you've been able to build a community where you don't have to plead with anybody to do anything. Like, you're like, hey, we're having a conference, and people want to be there.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you have a lot of awesome ideas to share on that.
Yeah. And one of the things too, I think, is when a community takes on a life of its own. And, you know, like my Facebook group's a fantastic example. It's got 8,000 people in it. And it's the most active community for talk about the architect exam. And it just goes all night long. And I'm not really facilitating it. I'm moderating. I'm the admin. I manage it, but I'm not like feeding it. It's got a life of its own. And, you know, and I think understanding and like how a community could take on a life of its own is a big part of it. But a big part, and one of the things I actually emphasize too in my presentation, is how like everyone wants to be successful, have their own brand, build a business, become an entrepreneur. None of that stuff can happen unless you really have a community behind you and you are actively a part and participating in not just one, multiple communities across many different walks of life. And that was kind of like, so let's talk about community. And that's where my keynote comes in, with like breaking down the like deconstructing what the community is and all the different parts of it. So
nice. What's like one part of the community that you could share from the speech?
Yeah, let me talk. I have it right here. Let me take a quick look. One of the things it kind of looks at, you know, what's the shared vision or the goal behind that? And I think that is where a lot of the grassroots, organic, unplanned communities come in. It's just it's like, one of the things I'm gonna talk about is like these guys I used to ride bikes with in Portland, Oregon after work, and we all rode really fast. and we spent a lot of time together, but we had like the shared interest, the group, you know, and I think kind of the vision and the goal and understanding that. One of the things I talk about too is how does the difference between a natural leader, an organic natural leader, someone who naturally kind of steps up. And I see this all the time in the architecture community, people who are doing things. I mean, that's the purpose of the Young Architect podcast, is people who I see out in the community who are making a difference. Let's hear from them. Like let's acknowledge that and have a podcast. Let's talk to this person. But, and then there's like kind of the contrasting that with, you know, the board of directors said that this person's in charge of a community engagement. They're the leader of community engagement, and if you're not happy, go talk to them. Yeah. So
yeah, the whole concept of like the person in charge of community engagement just sounds so ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. It's yeah, and I think just, you know, and I've built I'll say I've built a couple communities with the boot camp, the Facebook group, the conference, and all that. And I think as you know, I don't like to call myself the leader because I'm not, but you know, I think that a big part of it is, you know, stepping back and letting other people kind of step up and see what happens with you get all these pieces mixing together and letting it take a life of its own. So yeah, it's been fun. So I've been working on that. I've had a lot of meetings lately. As this event's getting closer and closer, I've met with Architizer. They're going to be, I think Architizer is going to be doing they're going to take over the content creator portion of it. You were a part of that last year, Drew. My buddy Paul at Architizer, he's always been a huge supporter of us, and he's so dialed in with in some ways with the architecture content community that we proposed it to him. I said, Paul, would you be interested in, you know, running a panel around with bloggers and podcasters and people who create content? And he was really excited about it. So we got Ryan Skivnicki on that one too. I think Ryan's going to participate in that panel. He's always got a lot of interesting stuff to say, so I'm excited to hear that. So I met with Architizer. We had a great chat with Amber Book today. You know, Michael Ehrman from Amber Book's always been a huge supporter of me and Young Architect, and he's going to be speaking at the summer series. He's also going to sponsor a couple of the events that are happening. And so yeah, it's been fun. It's been just super grateful to have all these people supporting these events that I do. You know, it's been a good time.
Nice, man. Yeah, you know, this kind of seems like the product of having created a good community. You know, like you've been able to identify not only, you know, people who enjoy being a part of the community, but also people who can be leaders within the community, and that's awesome.
Yeah, my role is to create that platform and the infrastructure, and let the community plug itself in and find where they belong. So yeah, it's been fun. It's been a good time. Yeah, like I said earlier, I'm just grateful that I can do this, and we've gotten a lot of work done, me and my team, over the past couple months. But I'll be honest, I do miss New York. I'd be in New York right now, Drew. I'd be hanging out with you in real life if pandemic didn't happen.
That would be nice, man. We could be eating outside at the taco place.
Yeah, eating real tacos
out
in real
the
life.
Street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Oh, listen to this, Drew. I want to tell you this story. Last night I did boot camp, and one of the things I make the boot campers do is, you know, we're studying for these pro practice exams, and I tell them, I say, listen, if you've got, like, every week I give them a list of stuff. I call it in the office. I say, if you're in the office and you've got, you know, pay apps laying around and change orders and submittals and, you know, construction change directives and stuff like that, like, let's study this stuff on real projects. And so every week I give them a list of things to look to just study and see what you can learn. I just say, you know, go look at some RFIs and see what you can learn. So one of the guys from my boot camp, he was asking his boss, he's like, you know, I'm studying for my exams. I was hoping if I could take a look at some like owner architect agreements, and he like couldn't find them. And he asked the boss, and the boss was like, yeah, let me show it to you. And this guy sat down with his boss, and the boss, like, you know, took like an hour out of his day to really, you know, show this boot camper like what an owner architect agreement is and really help him understand it. And after it was done, you know, like the boot camper explained, like, I'm studying for my exams. He started telling him, the boss, about the boot camp, and the boss was like really excited to hear all this news. Couple days go by. Boss calls the boot camper into his office and says, "Hey, listen, I was thinking about our conversation with, talking about, it seems like you're working really hard in your exams, or talking about, you're working on this goal, and I'm just really supportive of what you've been doing." And the boss says, "I want to help you any way that I can. And you know what? Let's get this licensing thing done ASAP." In the meantime, he ended up giving this boot camper of mine a $4,000 raise because
That's awesome.
he was so proud of him for working, making progress and being so passionate and working so hard on his exams.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was just, I heard that last night, and
it's great to hear about like principals who are, first of all, that would take the time to sit down and train somebody on something, because so often what happens is you just get thrown into the fire, right? Like you were describing earlier, they kind of just throw you on something as a project manager, and then you got to figure it out. But like for someone to really sit down and train you on something, super valuable. And on top of that, to be supportive enough to say, "Hey, let me help you out and give you a raise in the meantime."
Yeah.
Because like that's huge.
Yeah. And that's one of the things I really focus on. Like I sell boot camp all the time. It's, honestly, I don't really care. This isn't about passing tests. This to me is really about creating better architects. And like, let's use these architect exams as an opportunity to just become better at the craft of practicing architecture. You're never going to have an opportunity to really learn this stuff. And like right now, while you're studying for these exams, and experience helps, but it's, studying and getting the experience, I think, is the best way, pairing those two things together.
Yeah. They say that like practice makes perfect, but then other people say it's perfect practice makes perfect. So, it's like, practice is great, but like if you're practicing it the wrong way because you're ill-informed and you don't know, then that's not going to play out for you in the long run. Still got to study appropriately. Don't study and not practice. But yeah, you got to get both under your belt.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally agree. So what else going on, Drew?
Dude, I saw these hilarious tweets the other day from Jody Brown from coffeewithanarchitect.com. And this guy, I found this guy's blog back in like 2012. I think my friend told me about it in third year architecture school. And this guy was hilarious. And he ended up, he kind of fizzled out on the blog stuff. I can tell from recent blog posts he had like some personal stuff going on. It sounds like his son actually passed away. It's tragic. But from what I've been able to tell from this guy's blog post, one of the funniest people in the architecture world online. And he had these hilarious tweets. It's like one of the tweets was 50 to 99% of the drawings I do are for some building department reviewer to check a box. And that really resonated with me with stuff that I've been going through with the building department, like in the last few days, last couple of weeks, with this project I was talking about earlier.
Yeah, 5,000.
It's like he took a bunch of notes from the cover page, from the notes page, and then replaced it with tweets.
All tweets are for reference only.
Tweet is not shown for clarity. If the tweet drawing and the tweet specification conflict, the tweet specification shall take precedence. I've seen one where it said like no tweets were tweeted in the 50-foot stream setback buffer. Stream buffer setback. This tweet shall verify all dimensions prior to construction and notify the architect of any discrepancies between the tweet and the actual field dimensions. Verify in field.
All dimensions are the face of tweet unless noted otherwise. This tweet shall comply with the 2008 North Carolina Residential Code. This tweet has been intentionally left blank.
This tweet has a land disturbance area of 9,278 square feet. Unfortunately, LDAs of greater than 5,000 square feet require a tree survey. Hashtag screw tree.
Contractor to use pressure-treated tweets when tweets are in contact with concrete, CMU, or grade, unless noted otherwise.
This tweet is set back from the right-of-way 26 feet and 0 inches at maximum height, measured to the midpoint of the roof of 35 feet, 0 inches.
Monday revelation, all architecture is verified in field. It's true.
Yeah, dude, that's the truth.
Mike dropped that one.
Pewdiepie is hilarious. His blog posts are awesome, like the ones from back in the day.
Yeah, I remember.
And I think he started posting them again recently.
He made like a series of hilarious like architecture Valentines.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, was he making the original architecture memes? Because I think that counts.
He was. He was the OG of the architecture meme world. Like 10 years ago.
I think the tagline on his website was really good. I told it to one of my professors, and we both thought it was hilarious. He goes, he's like, "I'm just a man standing in front of an ideology, asking it to love me," because he felt like in the world of architecture, you're supposed to be this like chic person who wears all black in classes, and he felt like he didn't quite fit in, and he wasn't sure, like, and I felt that way back in college, and probably still, a little bit today, right? It's like the chic people who are all worried about like the art or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of look at something and you just don't get it. Like, you don't get why Jackson Pollock is supposedly such a great fucking artist,
Yeah.
Even though I've heard the argument, but so the idea that you're like standing in front of an ideology asking to love me is kind of hilarious.
Yeah, that's a good Twitter account. I was already following him, but I just don't use Twitter enough. Do you use Twitter, Drew?
I've been watching Twitter a lot lately. I don't use it. I'm trying.
Yeah.
I should step it up and use it more.
Yeah.
I follow the news on Twitter, which is probably a mistake. Just makes me angry.
It's not the best news. I follow the news on Reddit.
I hate to watch Twitter.
I follow the news on Reddit. That's another mistake. It's all.
I hate to watch Reddit too.
Those are like the worst places to get your news from.
Yeah. The one thing I like about Reddit is at least you can kind of curate it. Like, I guess you can curate Twitter too, but I spend a lot of time looking at like what's trending, and I just hate watch it. And but with Reddit, you can follow the subreddits you want. So I got mine with a bunch of videos of like cats sitting in pots and boxes, and there's some stupid shit too. But mostly I got like generally positive things. That's a place to try to.
Hey Drew, check out my new knife. Wait. Hold on, show you. Look at this.
Whoa.
It's a real switchblade, my friend.
Nice.
Something happened. I don't know what it was. Here, look. It's like a classic Italian switchblade. And I don't know what it was. Something happened where these knives were always like illegal. It's bigger than my freaking hand.
Wow.
But these knives were always illegal, and I think they delegalized them again. And I bought this for like, I don't know, like $15 on the internet.
Nice.
It's like a real freaking switchblade. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Dude, have you ever seen Jocko Willing's podcast?
No.
He's a Navy SEAL, and he was a Navy SEAL commander. And he does these podcasts about war and leadership, and they're awesome. But like, you'll see the videos, Jocko Willing, and you'll have like, they'll do like the video of the podcast is him and his buddy Echo Charles, who's just kind of like a regular guy. But Jocko is like Navy SEAL and all that stuff. So like, he's kind of playing with something, you don't realize it, and it's like this giant knife that's the size of like bigger than his head, and he's just like playing with his knife and using this point and make points. And
yeah, I love knives. I don't know what it is. I'm scared of guns, but I love knives. I love bicycles, but I'm scared of motorcycles. Yeah.
I think a knife is an important tool to have. My principal back in Atlanta he always carried a knife with him, especially on site visits, because you can check, see if the mortar is installed properly. You could like dig out a corner of the gypsum board during a demolition or whatever if you have to. Yeah. I need to get me a good knife.
Remember when Casey Neistat used to do all those unboxing videos, and that was like one of the big scenes was he would like flip the knife, but it wasn't the knife that he would always flip. It wasn't really that cool. Like, I remember watching those videos, but like, Casey, you could get it better. You could get a cooler knife than that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember the knife. But yeah, I remember the scene though. He did a very good. He would edit it.
He's awesome.
Like, the boxes all piling up, and then like click, and then it was just like opening, tearing stuff up. The editing.
He invented the unboxing in some ways.
Yeah, you know what? I was thinking of? All right, so literally just this week, I needed to like stop watching videos that I was watching about the collapse of society and the economy and the coronavirus and stuff. And so I was like, dude, I need some Casey Neistat vlogs in my life. That's what I'm gonna do. So I went back and watched like some old Casey Neistat vlogs that somehow I hadn't seen before. And I realized like, I don't think maybe I'm not dialed in like I used to be, but I don't think anybody's making those kinds of vlogs anymore.
No.
because he had his buddy Jesse Wellens.
Yeah. What happened to that guy?
Yeah, I think he kind of
Fell off.
The story I heard was that he got burned out because like
Yeah, they burned
it sounded
themselves
like
out.
all of the people who were doing that got burned out. And maybe there was probably a bunch of them I wasn't ever following, so I don't even know. Maybe they're still going strong, but it seemed like the Casey Neistat vlog era lifted up a bunch of other bloggers, and then I don't know that it's there anymore.
I've been disappointed with his, everyone's like once a month will put up a video and they're not very good, and he's promoting NordVPN. I get pissed. I don't know. Like, I know he could do better. Come on, Casey.
Yeah. I don't know.
He
just like
he retired, he's done. He had his heyday. He's still making money off it, but
yeah, I feel like I know how much work it goes into doing like a talking head video with almost no editing.
Yeah.
And I take a long time editing those videos.
Yeah.
And for that dude to produce one movie a day like that for so long, like that's, dude, I don't think I could do that. I don't think I could do that for a week, let alone for 3 years.
Oh,
so I think he's more than earned it. I think he's more than earned his right to take his feet back up on the table and relax. And I like what I saw an interview he did where he said that it's nice being able to be like, I'm working on a movie and I don't have to publish it tonight. Yeah. Like, he can take some time to perfect it. And I got respect for that.
Yeah. Yeah, he's the man. I love Casey Neistat. What I've gotten really into over the past couple of months is Pewdiepie.
Really?
Yeah, he's creating content for teenagers, but I don't know what it is. When I first started watching it, I started to be like, this is making me dumber, but I've actually fallen into it and I really enjoy it now. And he puts out a video every day of him just like making fun of, I've gotten a bad habit of like, what my YouTube obsession is it's guys in their late 30s making fun of guys in their early 20s on the internet. I don't know what it is, but yeah,
I didn't realize that was a genre.
I just watch all these, like Ethan Klein.
I guess they're there.
All these guys in their 30s making fun of guys in their 20s.
That's funny.
Yeah. But
I try to keep myself in check with those kinds of things. Do you ever watch Philip Defranco?
Yeah, I love Philly D.
I used to watch. He was one of the OGs on all of YouTube. I remember seeing his videos back when I was in high school, and I was watching his new stuff for a long time. But he's another one of those ones where like I try to pump the brakes with watching too many of those channels because like I'll just watch YouTube all day.
Oh yeah,
and like especially with like Philip Defranco, because he's talking about news stuff, so then you feel like you're staying up to date, but then really you just get enraged about everything. So God bless him. I don't think I could cover the news all day. That's my job.
I watch his thumbnails, and when the thumbnail speaks to me, then I watch it. I used to watch it every day. Phil burned me out. I burned myself out on Philip Defranco.
Yeah, man, I have done that at points in the past as well.
Yeah.
And if I start watching again, like I watched one video like a week or two ago, and the next thing I knew, I watched every video for the week, and I was like, whoa! And now they keep recommending it to me. I'm like, nope. I'm gonna try not to do that for a while. But no, I love Philip Defranco.
You know what me and my girlfriend have been watching a lot lately is wood turning. These people they grab they take like a log and they like chop a log off and they cut it into a square and they put it on a lathe and they get out all the tools and they start carving into it. And next thing you know, and then they pour a little bit of resin and they build. We've been watching people do woodworking on YouTube, and it's been a lot of fun. Is it
just like a therapeutic video, or is it like a tutorial video, or is it
it's
an art piece all in and of itself?
It's kind of a little bit of everything. We've recently found this guy named Grandpa Amu. He's this little old man that lives in a very rural part of Japan, and he's like this master Japanese woodworker where all the joints fit together. And he just starts chopping and hacking into all the wood. And I guess it's his son that makes the videos and puts them up on YouTube. But it just shows the time of this man just working through all the wood. And he's using all hand tools, all traditional Japanese woodworking methods. And it's just been a ton of fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I got one that's not necessarily entertaining, but I watched it when I was studying for my exams. Although the truth is I did find it kind of interesting. I got to look up the guy's name. It was Mike Haydick Masonry. And this guy has got these videos about masonry. And it seems like why would most people be interested in this? I don't know, but like with the architecture exam, like I'm actually interested in it. And you're hearing this guy who's an expert talk about, oh yeah, that building up there is made with Pennsylvania bluestone, and then you can tell that they had this jointing pattern over here. That's just the way that they did it. And he's talking about how you put together masonry. And as somebody who's been doing it for years, and his videos are, at first glance, they seem a little crude because he doesn't have like the most HD video or whatever, the most HD video camera, but his editing is actually pretty decent. Like I think he does a better job at showing you what he's talking about than I do on my videos, to be honest.
He's got 100,000 subscribers.
Yeah, man, I'm one of those. And he goes through, dude, that's covered all the stuff I needed to know for that kind of thing for the exam. More than that, because I really felt comfortable with understanding masonry after watching those videos. Because like I probably talked about in the past, like in the firm I worked at, we didn't really do masonry. The extent that we did masonry, it was like fill existing wall, match existing, feather in. Mm-hmm. So like I had never really done many details on masonry. Yeah. But I felt like I had a good understanding after watching this guy.
Yeah. What's amazing is YouTube's been such a credible resource for the architect exam that didn't exist 10 years ago.
Oh yeah.
It was there's so much information on YouTube to study for these exams. Like not everyone realizes that or uses it.
Yeah.
But yeah, YouTube's powerful.
And sometimes it's hard to weed out like the bad ones, because like this guy, Mike Haydick he has like so many videos. It's such a great catalog. It's almost like, I hesitate to use the word complete, but like if you studied all of that, you has a solid body of knowledge. But then you also got people who got like a couple random videos about some bricks, and maybe they did a good job, but they only did like 4 videos. So it's not like you really can learn a lot from them in the long run. But when you find one of those resources, you got to kind of just tap it for all it's worth.
Yeah. Yeah. YouTube is all I watch. I don't watch TV, or I don't even watch movies. I just watch YouTube.
Yeah, man, I feel that way too sometimes.
I bought a giant TV, and it's got a YouTube app in it, one of these smart TVs, and I just sit on YouTube all day long watching that. So
nice.
Cool, man. Drew, should we wrap up this podcast? We've been talking for a while.
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
You got drawings to do. We got to get back to work.
Yeah, I know. I'm procrastinating.
Well, it was good chatting with you today, Drew.
All right, man. Yeah, good talking to you too.
Yeah. Thanks for everyone that was listening. I hope this was helpful. Just me and Drew just talking about whatever. So have a great day every night. We'll catch you guys next week. Take care.
See you guys.